You know that moment when you're setting up a new home lab, a kitchen that doubles as a hobby workshop, or a small research station, and you realize you need a scale that can handle a handful of ingredients, a bag of chemicals, or a batch of metal parts without guessing? I've been there, staring at a pile of cheap digital scales that either tip over at 5 kilograms or give me a jittery readout that changes by a gram every few seconds. It's frustrating, especially when you're trying to keep a budget in check and you don't want to waste time troubleshooting a piece of equipment that can't keep up with the job. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. So let's talk about the Radwag WLC 20.X7 Precision Balance. This is the kind of unit that sits in the middle of the "I need serious accuracy but I'm not a full-scale lab" market. It's marketed as a 20 kilograms balance with 0.1 G readability, and it comes with a 7-inch color touchscreen that looks more like a tablet than a traditional scale. The first thing I did when I started researching was to compare it against the usual suspects, those $100, $200 bench scales you see on garage sale listings and the $1,000 plus analytical balances you'd find in a university. The Radwag lands somewhere in the middle. You're paying more than the entry-level hobby models, but you're also getting a capacity and a level of repeatability that most kitchen scales can't promise. Who should actually consider this balance? If you're a serious baker who needs to weigh dough batches up to 10 kilograms with tight tolerances, a small-scale manufacturer who mixes powders for 3D printing, a hobbyist metalworker who needs to keep track of raw material usage, or a science teacher setting up a lab for high school experiments, the WLC 20.X7 hits a sweet spot. It gives you enough headroom for larger jobs without stepping into the pricey analytical balance arena. The touchscreen lets you switch between units, tare multiple times, and even store a few recent measurements, which is handy when you're moving from one recipe to the next or logging data for a class project. On the flip side, if you're just looking to weigh a few herbs for a tea blend, or you only need to measure under 1 kilogram on a regular basis, this is probably overkill. The same goes for people who need ultra-high precision, say, sub 0.01 G accuracy for pharmaceutical compounding. The 0.1 G readability is respectable, but it's not going to satisfy the strictest validation protocols. In those cases, a smaller, cheaper scale would give you the same reliability for a fraction of the price. Now, let's dig into the practical strengths. The first thing that stood out in the spec sheet and that I confirmed by watching a handful of unboxing videos is the robust, stainless steel platform. It feels solid enough that you can place a 20 kilograms bag of flour on it without worrying about flexing or wobbling, which is something you'll see on lighter-duty models. The platform also has a textured surface that prevents slippery items from sliding around, saving you from the annoyance of reweighing because the container moved. The connectivity options are another real plus. The unit can be linked via USB or Bluetooth to a PC, allowing you to export data directly into a spreadsheet. For anyone who needs to keep a log like a small production run where you track material costs, this eliminates the manual transcription step and reduces human error. The touchscreen interface is genuinely useful. It's not a tiny monochrome display that you have to squint at. The 7-inch color screen lets you see the current weight, unit, and any stored readings at a glance. The menu navigation is intuitive enough that you can change from grams to ounces in 2 taps, and the quick tare button is right where you expect it. For a lab setting where you might have to zero out a container multiple times in a row, that speeds up the workflow. The built-in calibration routine is also accessible from the same screen, meaning you don't need a separate calibration weight set for basic checks, just follow the on-screen prompts. As for weaknesses, the biggest one is the learning curve that comes with the extra features. Users who are accustomed to a simple place and read scale might initially feel overwhelmed by the menu hierarchy. It's not a huge hurdle, but it does mean you'll spend a few minutes reading the quick start guide before you can take full advantage of the data logging capabilities. Another practical drawback is the power consumption. The unit runs on an AC adapter, which is fine for a permanent bench, but if you need a portable solution, say, taking it to a field site or a classroom without easy outlet access, this balance isn't designed for battery operation. Finally, the price point sits around the $600 $700 range, which is steep compared to a basic 5 kilograms digital scale. That cost is justified only if you actually need the 20 kilograms capacity and the data connectivity. If you end up using less than half that capacity, most